In the spring of 2005, a remote monastery in eastern Romania became the focus of international attention. Nestled among quiet hills and farmland, the monastery appeared peaceful, a place of prayer, a place of faith, a place far removed from the noise of the modern world. Yet within its walls, a tragedy unfolded that would spark outrage, debate, and fear across the globe. This is the story of the Tanacu Exorcism. Irina Cornici spent much of her childhood in orphanages. Life had not been easy. As a young adult, she traveled abroad seeking work and a better future. But according to reports, she struggled with emotional and psychological difficulties. When she returned to Romania, those around her became increasingly concerned. Seeking comfort and stability, she turned to a monastery where one of her close friends had become a nun. At first, it seemed like a refuge, but events soon took a darker turn. Witnesses described Irina experiencing episodes of distress and agitation. Some believed she needed urgent psychiatric care. Others interpreted her behavior differently. Within the isolated religious community, concerns began spreading that something supernatural might be involved. Whispers of possession emerged. Fear grew, and eventually decisions were made that would have devastating consequences. An exorcism ritual was performed. The monastery believed it was acting to help, but what followed would become one of the most controversial episodes in modern Romanian history. As the ritual continued, Irina's condition worsened. Days passed. The situation became increasingly serious. Eventually, emergency services were contacted. By then, it was already too late. At only 23 years old, Irina Cornici was dead. News of the death spread rapidly throughout Romania. Soon, international media outlets were reporting on the case. People demanded answers. How could such a tragedy happen in modern Europe? Questions emerged from every direction. Could the outcome have been prevented? Should medical intervention have come sooner? Were those involved acting out of faith, fear, or misunderstanding? The public debate became intense. Authorities launched an investigation. Evidence was examined. Witnesses were interviewed. The monastery's actions came under heavy scrutiny. The case eventually led to criminal convictions for several individuals involved. The legal process drew widespread attention and further deepened public discussion about responsibility and belief. Years later, the monastery remained linked to the tragedy. Visitors and journalists continued to revisit the story. The location itself became surrounded by an atmosphere of unease, not because of ghosts, not because of legends, but because real events had taken place there. Sometimes reality creates a darker shadow than folklore ever could. The Tanacu case touched upon difficult questions. Questions about mental health, questions about faith, questions about how people respond when confronted with suffering they do not understand. Throughout history, unexplained behavior has often been interpreted through the beliefs of the time. The line between spiritual explanations and medical explanations has not always been clear. And when fear enters the picture, decisions can become dangerous. More than 2 decades later, people still discuss the Tanacu Exorcism. Documentaries have been made. Books have been written. Films have drawn inspiration from the case. Yet the reason the story remains so powerful is simple. It happened. This is not an ancient legend, not a ghost story passed down through generations. It is a real tragedy that occurred within living memory. Today, the hills around Tanacu remain quiet. The monastery still stands. The wind still moves across the fields, and the questions raised by the case remain difficult to answer. Was it a failure of understanding? A tragedy born from fear? A clash between faith and medicine? Perhaps that is why the story continues to haunt people. Not because it offers answers, but because it doesn't. If you enjoy dark history, mysterious real events, and chilling stories from Romania, leave a comment, share this video, and subscribe to Crypt of Dha'Kult for more stories from the shadows. Because sometimes, the most disturbing stories are the ones that really happened.